All right. Hey, George, how are you today?
I'm blessed, sir. How are you?
I'm good, man. So, thank you for being here. I know you're a CEO, an author, a philosopher, recovery addict, recovery advocate, excuse me, speaker, entrepreneur, and a father. And that's a lot of hats to wear. And
Sure.
a question that I ask everybody when they come on here is to just tell me their story. So, George, how did you become the man that you are today? What is your story?
All right. Well, grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, a
Okay.
two-parent household. Around about age 7, I began to show symptoms of what they called at the time manic depression, which turned out to fully manifest itself as bipolar disorder. So
Mm,
I went through life. I was over 18. I dealt with a lot of family strife, poverty, and things like that. My bipolar really kicked in about age 25. And if you know anything about bipolar, that's typically the age where it fully kind of comes to fruition.
for sure.
And over the years, I went through some divorce trauma, 8-year addiction to cocaine, which I beat. And I've been
Mhm.
sober over 8 years.
Yeah,
And when I started to embark upon my recovery and deal with my health issues and everything to try to realize, and I know people may feel funny about this, but realize what my faith really meant to me,
for
I
sure.
started a nonprofit called Meta Association.
Okay.
We've been around over 8 years.
Wow.
We dealt with primarily Black male mental health.
Mhm.
We work on recidivism, promoting healthy fatherhood, and
Yeah.
things like that. So we've been going 8 years strong. Over the past 8 years, I've done mentoring programs with different school districts. I've done
Wow.
food drives. I've done many speeches. So I've been really ensconced in the community.
Yeah,
I've actually worked with a few politicians, been to Austin a few times to try to craft some things that would make it better for men dealing with mental health. Because one of the things that I found, and one of the things that really prompted me to start Meta was that upon my recovery, what I was told and what I experienced was that there were not many resources for men.
right.
And I wanted to
Absolutely.
try to do what I can to deal with that, especially with my oldest son,
Yeah.
who's 21 now. He was diagnosed at age 7 with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
And I had full custody of him, so that was interesting as well. So
Yeah.
I think I've done a lot in the past couple years. I've written books, I've done essays, I continue to work, and I'm
Yeah,
trying to collaborate with other people that are passionate about addressing male mental health. There've been a
for
few
sure.
people that I'm working with now. Simone Middlebrooks is a wonderful advocate,
Yeah,
and I wanna put her on a pedestal because not many women can do that. So all these things, all these hodgepodge of things have made me into the person I am today,
for
but I
sure.
just wanna do what I can to try to help as many people as possible.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious to know, like, when you're a kid and this is going on, like, how did your parents respond to hearing this news? And how do you wish they would have, or how should a parent, like nowadays, hearing this, what's a healthy way for them to respond?
Well, my mother and father did what I really do wish every parent did.
Okay.
When I was diagnosed, they were pretty much like, "Hey, let's just get you help for it."
Okay.
They recognized what was going on. They got me to the doctor. They also got me to my pediatrician to get everything physically checked out, and we addressed the issue head on.
Yeah,
And my parents were very, very I mean, they were awesome as far as being supportive, as were my sisters at the time. So, I think if more parents kinda did things the way my parents did
for sure.
and not ostracize and not be afraid of actually dealing with the diagnosis and learning about it, I think a lot of kids dealing with mental illness would be much better off. So
For
I
sure.
encourage parents to educate themselves about their child's condition, the medication, collaborate with clinicians to come up with a good treatment plan, and just look at it as it's not your fault, but try to make it where you can help your child manage their condition throughout their life.
Right. Yeah, for sure. It's like kind of like it is their condition, but your job is to come alongside them and let them know that they're still a kid. You're still there to support them.
Right, and let him be a kid because when you
Yeah,
have a child with mental illness, what a lot of people don't understand, as a parent, your role changes. You're very much even more so a protector because the world is not going to be kind to them. They're going to be
absolutely.
judged. They're going to have to learn how to navigate things through all stages of life.
Right.
So, when you have a child with a mental illness, you have to take extra care. And one thing I always advocate for is therapy. If you're a
Mhm.
parent with a child dealing with a mental illness, find support groups,
Yeah.
network, get in therapy because
Mhm.
that is extremely hard on yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, like, on everybody, but
Right.
it's not impossible. It is not a life sentence.
It's not. It's not.
Your life's not over. So,
No. No.
what was that process like for you as a kid? Like, going to therapy? I mean, part of my mission is, like, kind of removing that mental health stigma. And I'm sure, like, when you and I were kids, it was a much different time to go see a therapist at that time. So, what was that
Right.
whole process like for you? Like, especially going through
Well,
from kid to teenager, what
right.
was that like?
I think that because of my parents and the environment that they kind of fostered for me, it was not a big deal. I've also had some physical disabilities over my life.
Mhm.
Type 1 diabetic since I was age 9.
Yeah.
And the way that my parents taught me to approach my mental health, they told me don't forget the health aspect. So
Mhm.
they got me to treat it just like I did anything else health wise. So when I took my
Sure.
insulin, I took my psych meds. When I went to the doctor for A1C or endocrinologist, that's the same way they approached me going to a psychiatrist or a therapist. So there was really no difference. And one thing that I'm blessed about, it really helped foster the point where I truly view mental health as a health issue, whereas some people view it as a character flaw.
Right.
So
Right.
if you look at it as a health issue, it's really going to help a lot.
Mhm. Right. I mean, you go to the doctor when you're sick, you go to the chiropractor when your
Right.
back hurts, when your
Right.
brain's hurting, when your mind is all over the place, you go to a therapist. I love that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, moving through, teenager years to going to college. Did you go to college? What was that
Yes, I
experience
did.
like?
Yes, I
Okay.
did. Yeah, that was fun. High school wasn't very much fun just because
Okay.
it was not the best school system. So I was sort of disillusioned by it. But when I went to college, everything opened up, especially with bipolar disorder and the racing thoughts. Being able to be in the environment where I could be erudite and learn about different things was really beneficial to me.
Yeah.
It actually now has become a coping mechanism, but college was
Okay.
great. I got married at age 23, bought my first
Wow.
home at 23. I
Wow.
was married 16 years, have 2 sons. So teenage years, I don't know, it sort of went by in a blink of an eye, and it almost is like I almost slipped through it. But my young adult life was it was good. It was good. And about the time my first son was born, around that time, I was fully diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And it began a 10-year odyssey of finding the right cocktail of medications. It's almost common knowledge that with bipolar disorder, it usually takes about 10 years to find a cocktail that works. So I went through that journey, raising 2 kids, losing parents, paying a mortgage, minivan,
Mm,
all that, while trying to navigate bipolar disorder, and it was not easy.
sure.
And around about what year was that? I wanna say 2010, my health declined to the point where I could no longer work.
Mm,
And that was a major impact to me mentally, physically, and spiritually, to the point where I succumbed to addiction for 8 years. And I went through that process and I languished and I almost died several times.
oh my
But,
goodness.
as stated, around 2018, that's when God told me, "I'm not done with you yet. You got too
Yeah.
much to do."
Right.
And I really began on recovery. My marriage did split up at that time, so it was a lot to deal with. And that's when I began to go out into the world and really see what was out there for men and black men, but men in general dealing with mental health and emotional issues. And there was not a lot out there. So I tried to build myself up and start my nonprofit and go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, there's you're right. There's not a lot of resources out there for men for mental health.
Right.
I mean, where would you say, like, I guess, what was the red flag for you to just kind of be like, oh, something is wrong. I need to dig into this and figure out what it is and figure out, like, what the Lord has for me? Like, what was your, like, red flag moment?
I can't say it was a red flag moment. I
Okay.
think with any addict or anyone in recovery of any regard, you have to get sick of yourself.
Right.
People, I think one of the foibles of recovery is that people think, "Oh, I can do it for my kids. I can do it." No, you can't do it for your kids. If you're not doing it for yourself, you will fail.
Right.
You have to, it's a selfish endeavor, people.
Hmm.
Sometimes you have to send the kids to relatives or do what you have to do to recover. But you have to get sick of yourself. You have to get sick of being in that condition, being in that state, living that lifestyle. And sometimes sometimes it takes 10, 20 years, sometimes it may take a year. But, the thing is, recovery for each individual looks different.
Yeah.
But I truly, and that's why oftentimes we see people go to rehab over and over again.
Right.
It's not that the rehab is not effective, it's just they're not at that point yet.
Mm,
And we all have, our own predestined points of recovery, of impact. So you have to be cognizant of that. You have to be patient with that. And you have to understand you have to recover for you.
for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, what was that recovery process like for you? Like, how did it, I mean, did you go to like support groups? Were you, seeing the right person? Like, what was someone's listening today and they're like, I need to get on this track to where should they start and how did you start?
Well, as an advocate, I will always advocate for clinical intervention, whether it be a therapist or a PCP. When I originally started, I locked myself in my house by myself for 3 weeks and just laid there. I let
Yeah.
myself fully detox mentally. I let myself be in that
Okay.
very, very dark place. Recovery is not easy. And I just got up and started doing things. I got up, started living a monastic life, just having a routine, and I built up from there. It
Yeah.
was a brick by brick process. But the thing about recovery, and I think this is why recovery, not only from substances, but from mental illness is so difficult, is because to truly recover, you have to be comfortable sitting in that dark place.
Right.
You have to be comfortable being present and being in that hurt for a while so you can get past it. And we are so afraid of pain that if it hurts, oh, we just go revert back to what we were doing.
Right.
Until you can get strong enough to where you can sit through that pain and endure it, you're not going to recover.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that is a long time for you to sit in the darkness like that. I mean, what the
Yeah.
heck was that like? I mean,
It
how
was sobering.
okay. Yeah, for
It
sure.
it was sobering, and, it's just what it took,
Yeah.
to recover, and, I have 2 sons. My sons, even today, they'll tell you, even though I was messed up, they say, "You were always a great father, you were present,"
Yeah.
and that helps a lot, and I did that it made it thinking about my sons made it easier for me to think or be in that dark place because not because I was doing it for them, but in my mind, I had them at the end of the tunnel. They were the light at the end of that mental tunnel that I had,
Yeah,
and that helps out a lot.
for sure. Yeah. So, you come out of this 3 weeks, you start doing stuff. I guess what happens next? I mean, how did you decide how to move from there?
Why? Why? Well, at that time, I started going to the doctor, getting all my care set up. I garnered a strong sense of accountability.
Mm. Okay.
I was responsible for my addiction and my mental health. It didn't matter what anybody else did to me. It didn't matter what anybody else did around me. It wasn't about the white man or the system. It was on me. So I started getting my health right. I concluded my divorce and I left Memphis. Memphis was where I was living. I relocated to Dallas, really got ensconced in the community.
Mhm.
I needed that change of pace. If you're in recovery, I'm not saying this is a absolute, but it's going to be very difficult to recover in the same spaces that you were in. And
Yeah.
people have to understand. If you're really serious about recovery, you may need to leave. You may need to, and I don't mean move to another side of town. I mean totally just flip your life over and go to something new. I found I don't think if had I not done that, I would have been as successful in my recovery. I think it would have taken longer. I think there would have been more obstacles. So when you recover, when you embark upon recovery, you want to remove any barrier out of your way, and a lot of times that's location and proximity. So
Yeah.
I moved, lived in Dallas for 7 years, ran my nonprofit. I was engaged for a while, and it was good. I learned a lot. I worked on several committees. I taught a recidivism course. I did a lot of stuff with my nonprofits there. But like I said, in recovery, honestly, and people hate to hear this, you may need to pack up and move. Okay, you may need to leave. You will have to leave people behind.
Yeah.
The relationships that you had during your illness, whether it be mental illness or addiction, are at the very least gonna manifest themselves radically differently. And most people will not stick by you. It's
Mm.
a lonely, solitary experience.
Right.
And that's akin to what I was saying earlier in regards to being present in the pain. It's lonely. But
Yeah.
upon your recovery, you have to be open to forming new relationships, healthier relationships. Oftentimes in our illness, we form parasitic relationships. We get unhealthy relationships with people that enable, people that ostracize, and that's not just on us, but you have to be comfortable with saying goodbye to people, whether
Right.
it's your mother and sometimes it's even your kids, but you have to survive for yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, someone is going if someone listening going through that, is there is I mean, I guess is the hope for them what rests on the other side of recovery?
Right. That
Okay.
right. You have to look at it. I speak a lot in allegory, but you have
Sure.
to look at it as getting to the other side of a mountain.
Yeah.
When you're sick, that's you at the base of the mountain. But you have to climb and reach that summit. And that's the point where you decide to recover. That's the point where you start to heal. Because addiction is nothing but the response to unresolved trauma.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you think you're just gonna stop taking the drug or just start taking your mental health meds and it's gonna be all right, it's not gonna work. You have to do the deeper work. It's a process. You have to go to therapy and engage. You have to keep up with your physical health. In my instance, you're gonna have to pray. You're gonna have to take care of your diet. It's a long process. But once you get to that point where you really start feeling things gelling, you can look at that as you coming down the other side of the mountain.
Right.
It's easier. It's more pleasant. And then you get to the valley of peace below.
Yeah. For sure. For sure. So you mentioned God a couple of times. We
Right.
talk about faith a lot. What role does the Lord play both in like what motivates you, your recovery, being an entrepreneur? Like, how does he play in all this?
God is at the root of everything I do. Now, in my youth,
For
I
sure.
ran from God a lot. I studied different religions, but it built my faith. There was a point in February of 2023, I had 2 heart attacks in 1 week, and I was homeless on the street.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I looked up at the sky at 3 in the morning, and my faith was secured because when I looked up at the sky, it was about 5 degrees outside. I was like, well, it's like God told me, I got you, son. Just
Mm,
believe in me, follow me, pray, and you'll be all right. And
yeah.
at that moment, it was like a switch went off to where everything I do, I think of God and what He wants me. If I stub my toe, I'm thinking, what does God want me to learn from that? I don't make a move without prayer and consultation with the Lord. So
Yeah.
that's me. I understand perfectly. Not everybody's with that. Great. If that's the case, find something that works for you. As
Hmm.
long as it's not self-destructive, find something that works for you. But it just happens to be, my relationship with God is what works for me.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. I mean, so, you're going through this, looking to God, as your support for guidance. Like, how would you say that has been since finding God through all this? Has it been like ups and downs, lefts and like pretty clear, or has it been pretty rocky? Like, someone's contemplating a relationship with God, listening to this or listening to Jesus, and they just are like, I don't know what I'm getting into if I do that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a lot of people think when you find your faith that you pray and everything's hunky dory and candy and roses. It's not
Right.
that.
Right.
It's still very hard. Even to this day, I have to get some you know physical things done. I'm trying to raise money to do that. It's never going to be easy. But with your faith, that anchors you.
Mm,
That gives you a
yeah.
home to come to spiritually to when those times are rough. Let that be your sanctuary so you can rest in the Lord and then come out stronger and keep fighting. Because
Yes.
it's never gonna be. It's never. There's all in life. It doesn't matter who you are. You're always gonna have challenges. You're always gonna have peaks and valleys. But if you have that anchor in Christ, then it can help you get through it and help you navigate it and use it for guidance and use it for peace. People have to understand your relationship with God is your relationship with God.
Right.
Don't worry about a church. Don't worry about what Big Mama tells you got to do.
Right.
That's an intrinsic internal thing.
Hmm.
I get up at 3 o'clock every morning to pray. I pray
Right.
all the time, but I had to get comfortable with not defining my relationship with God by what other people thought I should do.
Right. Yes. So I guess how important is that to dictate between what you should do versus what people should do? And how do you navigate that and discern that?
Well, with the stuff I've been through and the way I was raised, I really don't care what people think. I never
Sure.
have. I was raised to be a sycophant or to be a like my parents didn't believe in peer pressure. You do what
Hmm.
you wanted to do. And that gave me the strength to be the way I am now. I can block other people out. I can cut other people out because as long as I'm following my purpose and
Hmm.
following God's word, I'm
Yeah.
okay. What other people do and think does not matter to me in the least.
Hmm. For sure. Yeah. Um, okay. So how important is it then, like, to just like have a community, be plugged in somewhere, obviously to, get opinions from people, but at least have a community to like lean on for support.
Right. Right. What I think in that regard is when you go through recovery and you start to heal, look at the interests that you have, the
Mm,
hobbies, the things you wanted to do as a kid.
yeah.
Rely back on those. I worked in the wrestling business. I'm an anime fan. I'm a Batman fan. I'm a comic book fan. So those are the communities and people that I was drawn to. And I found some beneficial relationships in that regard. In terms of mental health advocacy, if you surround yourself with people that embody your values, that'll help you heal more. So don't always think, everything has to be, well, if they're not a former addict, I can't be around them. That's not going to help.
Right.
If you like, if you like model trains, go to a model train convention. Meet people
Yeah.
there. If you like making ham sandwiches, go to a ham sandwich making contest. Just do what you're into, and if you put yourself in those environments and stay true to your values, you can develop a good support system that
Mhm.
way, and it's more organic, anyway. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Finding similar interests and just showing up for sure. Okay. So, you're going through this process. Where would you say you're at like today with like recovery, your relationship with the Lord? Like, how is that looking for George today, presently?
I'm great. Yeah, I'm great now. I
Awesome.
mean, I'm good. The only issue I have is that in all the things I've done, it's been hard monetizing it. So economically, it's been a little stressful, but that's starting to come together too. But as far as having my peace of mind, my focus, I'm good. I've been good about a year. I'm kind of going what through Carl Jung said was individuation.
Hmm.
And that's the process of fully becoming who you are. And I can see kind of in the past 3 years, I've been in an embryonic state, but in the past year, it's really come full circle and I'm pleased with the person that I've grown into.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, what would you say, if someone's like stuck in a rut, they feel like they're in this hopeless place and like you've gotten out of there and realizing
Mhm.
like, not everything is perfect, but you're at least
Right,
in a good direction. Like, what
right.
would you say to that person? What do you think they need to hear?
I I'll say this, and I apologize for how this may come across. Stop bullshitting yourself. Stop
Absolutely.
thinking, you have to be accountable. And for about a year during that rough time, I didn't look at myself in the mirror for a year, but until I was able to do that, say, George, what is it that you are responsible for? What is it that you can change? Never mind the economy. Never mind a wife leaving. What can you do? And then I started taking action. That's what you're gonna have to do. No
Yeah.
one's gonna pull you out of a rut. You have to pull yourself out of that rut, and nobody's gonna help you do it.
Right. Yeah. It's the accountability piece. Like no one's gonna come
Right.
save you. Like you have to
That's right.
decide
That's
what you're
right.
gonna get out of it. Yeah. For sure.
I mean, in life, it's God and you. That's
Yeah.
it.
Right.
I don't care if you got a mom, kids, all those people can fail you and let you down. But
Yeah.
like I haven't talked to my blood relatives in 8 years. It's me and God.
Mhm.
So if you develop that relationship with the Lord and you take accountability and you start taking steps that at least will get you going, that doesn't mean it's going to be easy. That doesn't mean it's going to be fair. That doesn't mean you won't still lose. And sometimes that don't mean you won't relapse, which I never have. But until you take that action mentally and start that engine, you can't go anywhere.
Right. Yeah. For sure. So I mean, what role does accountability play as you are, talking about mental health, talking about men's mental health, especially like,
Right.
a lot of men nowadays, even the accountability piece, it just seems like a lot of them, me myself included, just come up with excuses into
Right.
like why things are the way that they are. So, I mean, what
Right.
role, how do you, I guess someone's coming to you or talking to you and like they hear what you're saying, they're like, yeah, accountability, like I got to pull myself up. And then, but it's still like a lingering thing for them. I mean, what would you say? How important is accountability in men's mental health? And how does someone hearing what you say, I mean, what's a good first step for them?
Sit down with a pen and pad or use your text or, a dictator thing on your phone
Yeah.
and talk honestly about look at the situations. If your marriage is failing,
Mm.
don't worry about what your spouse is doing. What did you do to contribute?
Yes.
What is it about you that's keeping you in that spot? And that is hard to do. But that accountability piece, I would be dead without it because that was the catalyst for recovery and even everything I do. You have to be brutally honest with yourself and say, "Look, my wife. I mean, my marriage is messed up. What did I do wrong?
Hmm.
I'm using every day. What am I doing? My kids don't respect me. I got this going on. What am I doing? Because once you put that on yourself and are fully accountable, then you can look at what you did and then affect change because you can't control anyone else.
Right.
I also started studying stoicism. What happens, externally of us is not within our control.
Yeah.
So why worry about it? All we can do is worry about how we respond and not react. So accountability is key, and we're seeing the in current society what the lack of accountability is doing to the world.
Right.
So if it's doing this to the world, imagine how it's wrecking us internally as individuals.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Like that's the thing is, so many people don't see that the part that they play, they just want to blame other people. And
Right,
I just
right.
feel like we're not gonna get anywhere with that.
Right, because, I mean, people say, "Well, I grew up without a dad," which I grew up with both parents, but people say, "I grew up without a dad," or "This
Yeah.
happened to me," or that. So what? People talk about racism. So what? You know it exists. You need to get around it.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you're a slave to it.
Right.
Don't become a slave to your trauma. Trauma is like fire. It can keep you warm, cook your food, or can burn your house down. Your response, how you respond to your trauma, is going to affect the rest of your life. You either become a victim and be subjugated by it, or either you use it as a step to build yourself up and grow. The
Yeah.
choice is up to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just have to take the steps to get out of that. And it doesn't define your
Right.
identity either. Your identity is in Christ for
That's
sure.
true.
Yeah,
That's
for
true.
sure. So, I mean, you know, as someone who's been through therapy, like, are there aspects of that? Like, I'll jump out of order of my questions, but I'm curious. Like, people, there's this random stigma about therapists. Like, people think about going to therapy, they're on the fence about it, or they've had bad experiences with therapists. Like, I'm a
Right.
therapist and I've heard both sides. And
Right.
so I'm curious to know if someone's listening to this having those experiences, or they're on the fence about going to therapy. Like, what do
Right.
they need to hear to get off the fence, or even just speaking to those stigmas or bad experiences about therapists?
Right. And that's a loaded question because I was in therapy for about 8 years.
Hmm.
Same therapist. A wonderful gentleman. You have to take your time and research your therapist. See if
Right.
they align with who you are. Like me, trying to find a new therapist. He's going to be a Christian therapist. It'll
Hmm.
be a male.
Yeah.
Start there. Read reviews. Open yourself up to trying a session. If you put in 4 or 5 good, and I think it takes about 4 or 5 good sessions to kind of really assess where you are.
Yeah.
If you take 4 or 5 and you're not feeling it and you don't feel it's progressing, then go ahead, take your time and find somebody else. It's not gonna be the first one you pick. It's like when you're dating. The first girl you get with is not usually the one you marry.
Right.
So, be patient, but when you embark into therapy, actually put the work in.
Right.
You just don't go for 45 minutes a week and talk and then you just ignore it the other time. You'll be given homework assignments. You'll need prayer, introspection. Therapy is a process and it's not always easy, but you have to get over this thing. I'm telling a stranger. Well, you need that objectivity
Right.
because evidently the people in your life that have advised you have gotten you in the mess you're in, and they're a professional. So, and there's so many resources in terms of therapy. You can do televisits, you can do therapy where no one knows if that's your thing. So to not embark on therapy or at least be more, I guess, open to it, I don't understand.
Right.
Because the thing about with therapy is that it's to help you get better.
Right.
You know,
Right.
in my recovery, it took the faith, it took the pharmacological aspect, and it took the therapy to it was a trinity. And if you leave any part off, your healing would be incomplete. But just try it. I think people should have, even if you don't have any situational or diagnosable conditions, go see a therapist, once every quarter. Just to
Hmm.
talk, just to check in. Treat your mental health like treat it like a checkup.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
and take time to find your therapist, journal, find those things that are gonna be beneficial to you mentally. And I think because, with physical problems, you can see that. But with mental health being so abstract and people not understanding it, still a fear and stigma around it. But you're
Hmm.
gonna have to do that on your own. I mean, the world is not gonna change. The world is
Right.
not gonna bend to anyone's will. You have
Right.
to find your peace and man up or woman up and do things for you because you can sit there and worry on the world to help you. You can sit there and whine about your circumstances, but while you're sitting there, you're still sitting there.
Right. Yeah, for sure. And I love that you said, like, give it like 4 or 5 sessions. And I agree with that. Like,
Right.
do your research, make sure the personalities line up, make sure, like, you can afford it or as your insurance. It's just doing that research is so crucial to digging
Right.
into that therapy. Um, so, I mean, would you say, I mean, was therapy for you mainly for like recovery, or was it more like, like marriage stuff, or is it just mainly
It was
post
for
COVID?
everything. At that point, I just moved to a new sound. I got in full because I was, in a situation. I was engaged. Was raising 4 teenagers and an 8-year-old.
Wow.
And running a nonprofit and dealing with my health. So that I had to, I needed that therapy. And like I said, it was not always easy, but
Hmm.
it helped. It helped give me a counterbalance to my daily life that gave me perspective and clarity, so I can make better decisions.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's for sure. It's good to have like a third party or just someone like that that can give you. that subjective feedback for
Mhm.
sure.
Right.
Were some of those like connected in some way in your story, or were they three separate instances? What were those experiences like?
Uh, it's all been a continuous kind of flow of different things for the past 8 years. It transitions from one thing to the other. I'm grateful for them. Today's point. Had not been for that, I wouldn't be who I am now. I wouldn't have the great relationship I have with my kids, with my ex-wife. Pain.
Right. For sure. Yeah.
Right. It's important, but at the same time, I will not be a slave to a relationship with anyone. I've gotten to the point I can walk away from anyone, and if I have to, for my survival, for my
Yeah.
peace of mind. There have been times I even had to pull back from my oldest son, like, hey, you got to do you. Holler at me in 6 months because he had his own journey.
Yeah.
So those relationships are important, but I think to me it makes it more valuable because I'm embarking in these connections because I want to.
Right.
I'm no longer dependent on relationships for myself. Mandatory. I don't have to have a relationship with you. If you're in my life, it's because I severely want you there,
Right.
and that makes a difference.
Hmm. Absolutely. For sure. So, you know, kind of the big question I mentioned before recording. You have everyone's attention for 1 minute in the whole world, president of the world. George, the world needs to hear something. And what do you think they need to hear?
Don't stop. Don't
Don't
give
stop.
up. Even if you
Absolutely.
think you are at your lowest, man, rest. Find a way to dig yourself out of it. Because if you don't, you will sink.
Hmm.
Nothing is as bad as you think it is. As long as you got God and breath in your body, the next day can be better. Every day, try to wake up and know something that you did not know the day before. I believe in the Japanese principle of Kaizen, which is constant improvement.
Hmm.
So I even tell my sons, I ask them, well, what do you know today, son? You didn't know yesterday. And
Love
even
that.
just that minutia of it, you can expound upon it and expand it to go to other areas of your life, to your therapy, to your healing, even to your job, or even if you got a dog, raising a dog. Always strive to be better. And if you do that every day, when things get bad, you've already got that ingrained into you.
Yeah.
Build resilience. Don't give up. Don't be afraid.
Yes. Absolutely. For sure. So, looking ahead, I guess what is next for you, George? You say you're working on a nonprofit, you're working on some
Mhm.
books. Like what's next for you?
Mm, Continuing to grow as a person.
Okay.
Continuing to be a father. My sons are 16 and 21. Continue to be a father. Continue to be a friend to those that are important to me. Continue with my relationship, with my advocacy work, and just keep going.
Yeah.
And try to make sure I take time every day to rest, and pray, and think, and just keep living life and enjoy being in the moment. I go outside. I start a bonfire. I sit out there with a cigar and a cup of coffee, and I just sit and just be in myself, be in my own head for a while. That's what I want to do. And I just want to live a peaceful life and keep working. And that's what's next for me. Just
Hmm.
living.
For sure. Absolutely. We've talked about a lot of stuff, covered a lot of ground really quickly. It's great.
Mhm. Right.
Any good like books, podcasts, resources for people to if they want to like learn more about kind of what we've been talking about?
One thing that helped is studying Stoicism. I love Friedrich Nietzsche, Seneca. Diogenes is probably my favorite philosopher. Every time I think about him and his stories, I smile. It really helped me integrate my mental health holistically, naturally, spiritually, and in terms of medicine. Stoicism has kind of been a linchpin in a lot of my recovery, and I just enjoy loving just reading about it. I love learning. I'm always looking for new stuff to absorb and take in and apply it to my life and make it applicable to helping others. So I would say, let's see, the 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 Book of Five Rings by Masashi Miyamoto.
Okay.
That's a great one. Thus Spoke Zarathustra, which is Friedrich Nietzsche's book. Actually, the subtitle for that book was Writings for No One and Everyone, and I actually used that on my book, The Meta Papers. And as a nice segue, you can pick up my book, The Meta Papers, which is more of a philosophical memoir.
Yes.
It's nothing political. It's about that. It's on Barnes and Noble. The audio book is on Apple Books, I believe. So check that out. I wrote that, and that came out a couple months ago. And I sort of indirectly bleed in my recovery, what I went through as far as mental health, and it's more of my philosophical work. So read things like that, and read what you enjoy. Do
Mm,
what you enjoy. Don't let people tell you don't read that. If it's something you enjoy and it holds your interest, embrace it and make it into something positive.
absolutely. Absolutely. How can people find you? How can people find your work?
Right. Well, you can. The best place to find me right now is on Facebook under George P. Brooks. I'm working on and expanding my kind of diaspora of access where people can get to me. But that's going to be the best place. You can find my writing on AmericanThinker.com. Put in
Okay.
George P. Brooks. I have 16 articles on there. I have stuff on Barnes and Nobles. I've got my book, The Meta Papers, and a few essays. I have a Spotify podcast that I do called Musing. I've been doing a lot of podcasts lately on different things, politics and things like that. So if you just Google George P. Brooks or Google George P. Brooks at Meta Association, you'll see a litany of things I've done. And in that will be ways to contact, reach out, and collaborate. And
Okay.
if you need advocacy work, if you're going through something, if you need resources, man, woman, child, I don't care. If you need it, call me at 214-810-6518. That is my personal number. If you need help, I will help you. If I don't know what to do directly, I know I've amassed a wonderful network of people over the 8 years that I've been running Meta Association. I will do my best to put you in touch with anyone. I don't care if it's 2 in the morning. I don't care if it's 2 in the afternoon. If you need help, reach out. If you're not comfortable talking, reach out via text, and I will do my best to help you.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. Really good.
Thank you. It's been a great pleasure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for everything. And I will
Thank you.
post your stuff in our description when I post the video.
Right.
So people can find it. So
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you so much, sir. You stay.